All right, you guys, welcome back to the show. We're back from Japan. We're back here in the Lower Mainland, Vancouver, BC. Finally, oh my God, we're probably one of the last automotive YouTube channels to get a hold of the new Supra, but it's here now, and we're gonna take it for a drive. But before we do, I wanted to bring your attention to a little bit of market research that I did. So, obviously, the Mark IV Supra was an icon. It stopped production in the US in 1998, I believe, and it continued to 2002 over in Japan. Now, there are a few other cars from Japan specifically that have ceased production for an extended period of time and then were brought back. So I just wanted to do a little bit of a comparison between how much power the old cars had, how much power the new cars had. So a Mark IV Supra in stock form, the turbo model, of course, 2JZ, came with 320 horsepower. Now this 18 years later has 355 horsepower. I've done the math. That is an increase of 0.8 horsepower per year in between when they didn't make the car. So another car that they stopped production in 2002, of course, Godzilla, the R34 GTR. They brought that car back in 2008 with a bunch of power, almost 500 horsepower. So the GTR, in its time that it was not in production, gained 33.8 horsepower per year. And the last example, and the most stunning of them all, is the 86. Toyota built the 86 back in the 80s until 87, ceased production for many, many years, and brought it back in 2012. Now, if you do the math on that, that car gained 2.8 horsepower per year, and everybody considers the new 86 a slow car. So this only gained 15 horsepower in 20 years. That's the bottom line. It's not much. I'm not saying that horsepower is everything, but it's a nice stat to kind of know. But we're gonna get behind the wheel. We're gonna see how much of that BMW influence has kind of clouded Toyota's mission of building the ultimate driving car. And we'll take it for a spin, see how she does. Been waiting so long for this. Oh my God, you guys, finally, the new Supra. Finally, we are probably one of the last automotive channels on the planet to be driving the new Supra. But thank you so much, Nadeem, for tossing me the keys to your Supra for the day. I cannot thank you enough for that. This is just great. So here it is, the 2020 Toyota Supra, 3-liter inline 6 under the hood. Right off the bat, it feels extremely similar to the BMW M340i we drove recently. Now, this Supra in its trim with a tune on this engine, from the factory, it puts out 355 horsepower and 365 pound-feet of torque. So as with the M340i we drove, it spools up really quickly. It's a single turbo. You get monstrous torque, but it still carries up into the power band, just not quite as high into the rev band as you might hope. You know, redline is 6,500 RPM, which is very low. But that being said, I'm pretty impressed so far. I've got to say, I'm pretty impressed. Yes, all BMW things aside, I mean, the interior is all BMW. Everything except for the gauge cluster, from what I can tell, is basically BMW. The gauge cluster is really nice. Yeah, traction's coming on. Throttle response is fantastic. Really, really great. Really great, fantastic. Oh, it wants to go sideways so badly. So badly. It sounds kind of like a 2J, I'm not gonna lie. At higher RPMs, it kind of has a little bit of that 2J resonance, that like, it's got a very dynamic exhaust note. It has a lot of different variations in the exhaust note. Oh man, I get it. I get it, you guys. Honestly, the Supra is a great car. But right off the bat, I have been waiting so long to drive this car, ever since the FT1 concept came out years ago, which, ooh, there's traction control, which, by the way, still holds a special spot, I think, in the hearts of a lot of car enthusiasts and Supra fans. I think that FT1 concept, when it initially came about and when you initially kind of saw it, that sparked something in the automotive community, in the JDM automotive community, that I don't think a lot of other concept cars have really done in the past little bit. I think the Lexus LFA was another one of those that came out a while ago that really kind of hit home. Another Toyota, coincidentally. But yeah, I think that FT1 concept really revitalized the spirit of what we thought was going to be the next evolution of Toyota's pursuit of building the ultimate driving sports car. Now, have they done that here? We're gonna find out. Okay, so I've got a little piece of paper here Nadeem has given me, and it's got a list of the modifications. A couple of light mods on this car. This is not a stock Supra here. It has a CTS turbo intake. Shout out CTS Turbo. I know you guys have done a lot of work with a lot of people here in the Vancouver area. It's got a boot mode, stage 2 tune, and then it's on H&R lowering springs. So as far as I can tell, and I know you guys have probably seen a million different opinions and perspectives on the new Supra and the Toyota BMW collab / controversy that's been going on for the past year or two here on the internet. Now, my 2 cents is this is a collaboration that would have been perfect 20 years ago when the original Supra was being produced, was still in production. And why I say that is because BMW's trend of their sports cars, and what we found, if you go watch our M4 review, when compared to like an S54 swapped E30 that we drove last year, that was BMW's like heyday and golden era in the M cars, in the real driving enthusiast, the ultimate driving machine, as BMW would call it, right? But in recent years, BMWs have taken a little bit of a dive as far as the authentic analog driving experience is concerned. So now in 2020, when Toyota, just a few years ago, brought back the H6 and made that a real, manual transmission, front engine, rear wheel drive, lightweight, really fun, driftable sports car, albeit with lackluster power, that's kind of besides the point. But they created that, and that's kind of the direction Toyota was heading in, or so we would have hoped. So when we saw the FT1, I kind of expected, okay, we're gonna get basically a beefed up version of the H6 with a turbo, a little bit wider track, a grippier car, a more robust sports car, kind of creeping up into that real sports car, supercar market. And what we got instead was the new Supra. Well, we did not get the FT1 concept with a manual, which would have been everybody's dream. We did not get that, okay? We got this Supra without the option of a manual gearbox, Does have a brilliant ZF 8-speed, which is in a lot of BMWs and a few other press cars we've driven. Great transmission. But the reason I say the collab would have been better 20 years ago is because BMW was still in their heyday. It was the 90s. It was the E36 M3, right? And Toyota was in their heyday. They were making the MR2. They were making the Supra at the same time. Nissan was making the GTR, right? All these manual cars. But now, Toyota decided to pair up with the one automaker, BMW, that still has, but had the ultimate driving experience like nailed. From the E30, E36, E46, E92 even, right? But now, with BMW, they've kind of lost their way, and then that's when Toyota decided to step in and be like, hey, let's make a collab happen. It's so disappointing. It's like, why couldn't you guys have done this 20 friggin' years ago? But that being said, this is still a great looking car. It's not the FT1, it's a little bit smaller. This is a perfect size sports car. Now I have driven an M2. I drove that down in LA with a manual. Brilliant car. And in fact, that's actually what the owner of this car, Nadeem, has come from. He previously owned an M2 competition with a manual. He says he prefers the Supra. Very interesting. Now, having driven both cars, this is definitely a little bit more of a hunker down experience. You feel like you're sitting lower down in the car. I feel like the blind spots are definitely worse in this car. It's definitely a little bit more of a sports car, a purpose-built sports car. It does not have back seats like the M2 does, and a few other things. This feels, closer to the M2 than, let's say, the M340i we drove, but both, they're all very similar. All right, so we're just gonna do a rolling run here in first gear, automatic. There's boost. Whoa! Oh yeah. 115 kilometers an hour. Very quickly. It's got a nice wheelbase though. I'm telling you that this car is the right size, and it just feels like a higher quality Toyota 8.6, to be honest. That's what it feels like. It feels like a little bit more robust 8.6 just without the manual, which sucks, but once you get out of that, I mean, the car sounds good. What do you guys want me to say? I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys just because it doesn't have a manual and it's a BMW and all these things. You can't get around the fact that this car is a good car. This is a great car. The Supra is a great car. Now, it might be a little numb. It's a little bit numb. The steering's not all the way there, but it has what most people want. Oh, wow. It has to be said too, I'm on snow tires right now. This car's on snow tires. It's on 245s in the back as well as the front. It's a square setup for the winter time here in Vancouver. What? Just removing the cat, which, by the way, here in BC, we do not have emissions testing anymore. So yes, it is illegal to remove a cat off a car that came with a cat. But that being said, nobody's checking it whatsoever. Unless you go downtown Vancouver, VPD is on a manhunt against the automobile, against car enthusiasts. That's a whole other story. But if you don't go downtown Vancouver, you should be fine, and it's totally legal to have a catless car. You don't have to go through any inspection. It does not carry the same cachet and the same provenance as that Mark IV Supra, nor do I think it ever will. And that really, honestly, you guys, I think that mainly comes down to the fact that it's mostly a BMW. I think that will not be forgotten. Here's the catch, you guys, though. You can't really blame Toyota for doing this. You can't really blame Toyota for going this deep with BMW. Now, Toyota cannot justify building a bespoke engine like they did with the 2JZ and sticking it in only the Supra. If they had made a bespoke engine for this car, all new interior you need, all new everything basically, new chassis, everything, new engine, right? Only to sell a few of them, because in the vast scope of Toyota sales, the Supra is nothing, right? You gotta realize that. Us automotive enthusiasts, real driving enthusiasts, we are the exception. We are a very small chunk of the market. So for them to justify that, they couldn't. They would lose so much money. So I get that. I totally get that. It's just, yeah, it's, they could have maybe tried to cover it up a little bit more, you know, done their own interior, but just not the engine. Because I think the engine is great. This 3-liter from BMW is proven, and you can stick a lot of power in it. It has insane torque. The turbo spools out very quickly, and it's a really fun engine. You can be anywhere. You can be from 1500 RPM all the way to 65. Put your foot down, and you're gonna have a fast car. You're gonna get shoved back in your seat, as I will demonstrate here in a second. With a Mark IV Supra and the 2JZ, first it revs way higher. You can get them to rev much higher. And you kind of need to be in the top half of the power band to really make that power. So it forces you to drive the car a certain way. This Supra is so friendly. It's such a friendly driving experience that you don't need to drive it like a dick. You can drive it, just to be blunt, you can drive it just like a normal average car, right? I mean, the gearbox is responsive. It's no dual clutch. It is not a dual clutch, but again, this is a car that you want to, you know, Toyota wants young people to be able to get into this car. So start putting a dual clutch, the price starts creeping up way beyond what a normal person could afford, and then you have kind of priced yourself out of the market, and then you start having to compete with the likes of the Corvette and stuff. Yeah, that intake has done a lot as far as the sound goes. I don't have a stock comparison back to back, but yeah, it's pretty great. You get a lot of intake. You hear the turbo spool up and a lot of exhaust noise. Yeah. Woo! Supra, baby. Love it. I love it. It's fun, man. Hate all you want, but I guarantee you, if you were sitting behind the wheel of this car right now, you'd be laughing your face off. It's a fun car. So, in terms of weight, the Mark IV Supra single turbo weighed just under 3,500 pounds, which by today's standards, like, I think of the Mark IV Supra as a big girl. She's a big, girthy girl, right? But by today's standards, that's still a light car. This is about 100 pounds lighter than that Mark IV Supra Turbo. So they have shed a little bit of weight there, which is definitely ideal. Compared with the Mark IV, I mean, the car handles way better from the factory. You gotta realize, you guys, every Japanese car enthusiast has this like image of the Mark IV Supra in their mind that is so idolized and so pristine, that you forget when you get into a Mark IV Supra, like the panels are all plastic, there's plastic everywhere. Yes, the dashboard layout was revolutionary at the time, it was just absolutely insane, but the interior on this car, it's night and day. This is a million times better than a Mark IV Supra interior, as far as materials, as far as build quality, everything. Now, do I prefer the experience of being in a Mark IV Supra Turbo interior over this? Yes. Definitely. The experience, I will always take a Mark IV Supra over a Mark V, mainly because, I mean, this thing's got 2 pedals. It's not a real sports car, let's be honest. No, I'm just kidding. But that's the thing, right? People forget that the Mark IV Supra was not perfect, nor was it the fastest car out there. This thing would walk a factory Mark IV Supra in a straight line, no questions asked, right? So these are all things you just have to take into consideration when getting into a modern car. Anyways, you guys, this is the 2020 Supra. It's my first drive. Okay, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. I think it's a little more numb than I would have liked it, but again, if I drove this in a Mark IV back-to-back, I guarantee you that this steering would feel more direct, the chassis would feel tighter in this, there's less body roll, for sure, that's undeniable, but there's so many mods available for the Mark IV that you could, you know, you can make the argument that you can make a Mark IV quite easily up to, let's say, the lap time standard of this car very easily and very quickly and very cheaply. You could probably do that. But that being said, Nadeem is going to modify this car, so we will find out soon. All right, so thanks again, Nadeem, for the car. Really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to drive this car. Finally, so exciting. You guys can check out Nadeem at nadeemtheoptician.com. He also runs a really cool Facebook group that is growing massively, and they're gonna have events in the spring here for car season, I'd imagine, here in Vancouver. That is a clapped out car club on Facebook. The links will be in the description. Also, shout out to CTS Turbo, obviously, for the mods on this car. Do one straight line pull real quick. That'll be it. It's really good, you guys. It's good. It's great, not outstanding. It's great, not amazing. I would rather have a Mark IV that I could just modify and just go crazy, because the experience in the Mark IV is just that much more raw and that much more personal, that much more connected. That's my argument. It's just I would take a Mark IV over a Mark V any day of the week, and I think most of you would too. But this is definitely a car to take a look at. All right, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed our 2020 Toyota Supra review. We're actually gonna be back once this whole crisis is over, and we're going to shoot a Mark V versus Mark IV big battle video. It's gonna be epic, but for now, social distancing. This is the new norm. Grayson is like 30 yards down at 30 feet down the yard right now, and I moved both of my cars back here because I don't know where the other guys have been in their cars, so, you know, the yard is safer than the driveway. That's my new daily, if you guys are wondering too, the Suzuki Forza. All right, you guys, so I brought you back here specifically for 3 new engine code jet tag designs that we have made. So we updated our 2 most popular engine codes, and then we made a new one. So we redid our 2JZ GTE jet tag design. We went from kind of a gunmetal to the bright orange. Same with the 3S GTE, from a gunmetal to a bright red. And then we have the BMW B58 inline 6 that is also in the new Supra. So 3 very relevant new engine code jet tags. Use the code COVID19 to get 19% off these 3 brand new ones. And we still have our entire catalog. You guys always ask in the comments, oh, you don't have the 1J and 2J and all this stuff. Yes, we do actually. The 1J and all these other engines, EJ20, EJ25, the link is in the description, and you can order any of those to your heart's content. So we'll keep you guys updated on a day-to-day basis, kind of as this crisis unfolds. We've got a lot of shoots lined up, but of course things are kind of changing, and it could potentially get to the point where we go out to try and film a review on a car out on the back roads even, and the police just telling us to go home. Like that might be a possibility in a week or 2 from now, but we'll keep you guys updated on social media. See you soon.